If you're managing a big team, or if you're looking forward to hire a team, train a team, and then be able to have this team perform at the maximum capabilities, then this video is going to be super, super exciting and valuable for you. And it's the first time ever, and will probably also be the last time, that I'm going to share a video like this of my channel. And the reason is super, super simple. My co-founder Lars, who is leading the whole operations on our team of 41 people, doesn't like to be online, he doesn't like to be on social media, and he doesn't like to be on camera. But I got him recorded in a mastermind in Dubai, where he spoke about how we hired and trained our team and how we lead them in our day-to-day with 41 people now. So what you're going to see is a 1.5-hour masterclass around the topic, around hiring, training, retaining talent, and also how to lead talent. So enjoy this video. I must see you soon.
I will ask you a few questions as well after I did a small introduction, just to understand where you guys at, what's the team sizes you're working with, what's the most focus. Same as with Arian, just jump in anytime you have a question. And at the end, we'll do a Q&A as well. And I'm an open book. I'll share as much as I can for you guys to make sure you have the most value out of it. But okay, let me quickly go through why building and leading teams is so important. It's extremely crucial that you have a proper team, right? Because if you want to scale hard with anything that Carl has shared, anything that Arian has shared, you need somebody to fulfill all that stuff. It can't be you all along, right? It does work to a certain point, but it can't go all along. So whether it's e-com, whether it's agency, in e-com you obviously have a bunch of different roles that apply other than agency. But again, you make revenue, who's going to take care of that revenue to be fulfilled? Exactly. So the most important thing is you want to go from business operator to eventually business owner. Because at the end of the day, if you stay a business operator at all times, you just have a high-paying job. You're a donkey. You're carrying shitloads of weight, and you get money for it. But you can go work yourself up to CEO level in any company and have the same amount of stress, money, whatsoever. What you want to do, because you want to be an entrepreneur and a business owner, is make sure that you have a team that takes care of all the stuff you don't want to take care of, right? Because that's why you start a business. I doubt that any one of you starts a business because you're like, I want to have a high-paying job and I want to do that for the rest of my life. You want to multiply, you want to build net worth, you want to make sure you have a bunch of money you can work with, invest, grow, and then have a nice family, whatever it is, that just driving for a Lamborghini, whatever the 4 mistresses, whatever you fancy, right? Okay, so that's super important. And at the same time, if you have a good team of A players, you're going to be able to scale without breaking the bank, any debts, or any inconsistencies and unhappiness in clients. That's the most important. Or even in e-com, customers that pay for a product and they don't like the customer service. Customer service is super important. Sucks when they don't like that. You get a bad review. Brand reputation goes downhill. So basically what we're going to talk about today is why is team building so important. I touched upon a little bit of that. We'll touch upon more. How to build a proper company culture that attracts high performers, basically A players, because you don't want, Talabat drivers to work in your company. Now, then the other thing is when to hire and who to hire, and also where to hire. I'm going to touch upon that because the where to hire is super, super important if you want to have a good ratio of quality versus money you spend for the job or the task that's supposed to be done. Then next up, internal processes. How do you track KPIs? How do you set up KPIs? How do you build the teams? You can see small unit teams. It's a concept coming from military, from special operations. Very well to use that in agencies, I figured, and anything that requires some sort of workflow or value chain that has to be taken one by one, right? Then how do you incentivize your employees? Arian spoke a bit about that. I'm going to go into that as well. Controlling, monitoring, just a little bit. Meetings and meeting structure. What meetings should you hold? How many meetings to hold? How you structure those meetings? There's a super cool system, unfortunately not invented by me, but it's called the EOS system. It's incredible. And then we're going to do a little bit of Q&A. The reason I won't dive too deep in any one of those points, I'm going to try to get like a bird's eye view because I want to make sure you guys can ask questions regarding each single point, and we go through it, and I'll take my time to answer as much as I can, okay? Cool. So super important for me to understand is, Arian asked what y'all do, that's fine. We don't need to go through that again. How big are you guys in terms of team, and where do you want to grow in terms of team as well? And maybe also a few challenges that you have. So we'll start to the left.
Yeah, so my name is Magnus, and I'm 20 years old, and I'm partnering with Victor in e-commerce, and we actually don't have a team right now, but we are planning to outsource a couple of things in the next couple of months. And the challenge is that we have never outsourced anything before, so we don't know how to do it, who to do it with, and yeah, just everything from the start.
Nice. Yep. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So my name is Asper. I'm also 20 years old. Run a marketing agency where we help product businesses. I have one full-time employee. Actually hired him last week, so it's pretty new.
Nice. Congrats.
And thank you. And besides that, we work with a lot of different consultants, primarily people who work with videography, and then also appointment setting and sales calls.
Cool.
Yeah, basically.
Nice.
So that's the structure right now.
Cool.
Great. Yeah, my name is Daniel, and right now in my agency we have 2 full-times and 1 part-time, and then in my creative agency where we get the full house, and then I have a lot of freelancers. Yeah.
Cool.
Part-time.
How many?
3.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
On the media, commercial-wise, and then on my e-commerce I have 3 partners that work almost full-time.
Cool. Full-time partners, or like partners in terms of they're working for you?
Like partners.
Okay. Cool. Yep. Okay. Cool. Nice.
My name is Christian. I have an e-commerce store in like the beauty and wellness niche. I actually don't have any employees because I just use agencies and outsource things to freelancers. But I have like 7 that I work with like on a weekly basis. And my plan is to do an exit next year. So I always thought that like not hiring too many and just making a bit more plug and play was the way to go. But maybe you'll check that.
Cool. Thank you. You want to go?
Yeah, my name is Frederick. I run a marketing agency with Tobias. We are 3 full-time employees. We have 3 full-time employees. And the goal is to keep it pretty lean, so we don't want to be more people. Maybe if it's necessary, but we want to keep it pretty lean.
Cool. Nice.
And we also run a support team and some freelancers and some more people.
Nice.
My name is Christian. I'm working together with Victor. We run a marketing agency focusing only on info products. Right now it's just the 2 of us, and we also have like a part-time on a trial period, so we basically work for free. I think the goal for us is to be lean as well, but maybe get up to a count of 10 to 12 people.
Cool. Nice. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so my name is Gustav. I also own a marketing agency focused on e-commerce. I have currently 1 full-time employee, and I'm not really sure I want to hire a lot more, maybe 1 more, but I want to keep it lean as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, as Magnus touched on, we just the 2 of us looking for mainly customer support right now, and figuring out if it should be in-house or we should outsource it.
Cool.
We haven't figured out yet.
Nice.
Maybe actually, like, say when Simon, you've got a bunch of employees, don't you?
Yeah, we have 2 full-time employees and then 1 intern, and then we work with 3 to 5 freelancers.
Cool. Cool. That's cool. And you guys?
Yeah, like in scaling with e-commerce, but yeah, a bunch of freelancers. I think what will be interesting also for us to learn, of course, is all about the structuring meetings and organizational charts.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I actually have a picture of our org chart in there. Nice. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I find it interesting that a lot of you work with freelancers, which is generally something I don't like to do. And also something like interns or part-time, I also don't like to do. The reason for that is, and then I'll jump right back into introducing myself because I haven't yet. The reason is basically part-time and freelancers are never as committed to your business as a full-time employee because the full-time employee has something to lose. The freelancer doesn't necessarily have something to lose, right? We'll get into that later. And if you have questions, just jump in between. So a little bit of stuff about myself. I'm Lars. I'm 29 years old. and I am from Düsseldorf, Germany, if any one of you knows that. I mean, we're not that far apart, I guess, Germany and Denmark. And I dropped out of university to go all in on entrepreneurship because I hated it in school, and I didn't like it. And I was kind of a rebel. So back in the day, right after high school, I had my own luxury footwear brand and accessories, so we did that kind of stuff, like these high-top sneakers, some bracelets and accessories, all kinds of stuff that you do if you see your luxury brands at 18 and think like, I want to have one too, and you do that stuff. Eventually, the co-founder and I, we went separate ways, and so I, because of personal, what's the word for it, fate? No, things that happened to me in my life, personally, I ended up doing NLP. I'm not sure if you're aware of NLP. If you know Tony Robbins, all he does is NLP. I saw this guy, he's like, oh, he's good at solving problems. He knows how to take care of stuff, of people and himself. So I was like, let me do that as well. Went into coaching and became one of the youngest certified NLP coaches in over 80 plus countries, which is great. But nowadays, the only way I employ that is for my team and make sure we have a great and cool organization. After 2 years of that, from all walks of life, I ended up missing ecom. I also stopped doing coaching simply because you take a lot of bad stories back home and you lie in bed and you're like, holy shit, that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I like to be surrounded with positivity, and here you go. Now, today, obviously, Carl and I run an accelerated agency. We're a 40-person team, and I am fully focused on operations, on the team, on the culture, and the strategy. And there's a nice picture of Carl and myself. And then also one thing that I like to do is from here and there, consulting agencies on building and leading obviously highly profitable teams, because it's something we've built, so why not pass it along, right? Why can I speak on these topics? Because obviously you've never seen me before, you never heard of me before, and I'm just a ghost next to Carl, and everybody knows Carl. So I was directly mentored by C-level management positions in one of the biggest automotive and defensive companies. I will not name the name of the company for obvious reasons. And they're putting in over 6 billion in revenue each year, probably now because of everything that's happening in the world. They're doing it a bit better. Then we're obviously at Accelerate Agency, we're working with the biggest names in e-com, and we're moving into SaaS as well. And then obviously our own team, and I restructured 5 other businesses to make sure they have less debt, become more profitable, and better organizational structures. Because I enjoy doing that. Now, again, why building, team building and leadership? The thing is, the end goal you want to have, and especially you mentioned exit, is you want to have a team of elite operators that take care of the business for you. Very simple reason, if you have that, your business is going to be worth way more than, because nobody's going to buy a business that's dependent from you. Nobody's going to come to you and be like, oh, that's nice, let me buy that business. Because what if something happens to you? Or what if you decide 1 week after somebody buys your business, you're like, I'm going to do something else. Now that business that somebody has bought has 0 assets, 0 value, because you were everything of that business. And that's why it's extremely important to have that a team. And then when you build a team, you want a team of people that all strive towards the same goal. We call that the mission-first approach, because when everybody knows where to go, how to go there, and then what are the rails, basically, they can move within, then you know they all work on the same mission, get that done, go to the next, right? Right, so again, I said it increases your net worth and it increases your business value, or even creates value of your business in the first place, not to your customers and clients, but specifically to somebody that's interested in maybe purchasing you or the likes, right? If you're ever eyeing on that one. You're supposed to operate on the business, not in the business. Very simple and pretty much common sense, but depending on what your goal is, you say, I just want to do it for lifestyle, I want to have a bit of cash, and I enjoy doing that, like, I don't know, 20, 30 hours a week. Cool, go ahead, why not? That depends on your personal goal. Again, otherwise you're a donkey because you're carrying weight for 80 hours a week and you get paid an effective hourly salary of $5, right? Because you're not leveraging your time and your money. You can create predictable results with consistency, I said that, which means good and bad months aren't going to hit you as hard because you know you have a team that's going to clean up after you. And you can personally focus on aggressively scaling, whether that's e-com with what Arjen said, advertorials, with CRO, with ads and all that stuff, or an agency, same thing. Just you are now able to bring in more revenue firsthand and have more of that revenue to yourself as well. Leveraging your time and money, obviously multiplying it through investments. If you want to do agency and e-com forever, cool, but most people use it as a vehicle to get cash, make sure to build something nice, maybe exit that, sell that, and then now, how do you get rich? Most of the time you do get rich through investments over long periods of time. You can shorten that time frame by obviously setting up something worthwhile. Eliminates headaches for operational work. It makes you grow as a character and as a leader and as a person in general, because the more you have to deal with people on issues and problems, which is pretty much everything that happens in a team that you have to manage. It's going to be issues, problems, people not doing the right thing, not doing the thing right. It's going to make you grow and it's going to test your patience. And then again, as I said, you're going to be able to exit your business as something that's worth something as well, right? Any questions to that so far? Pretty common sense, I guess. Cool, nice. So how do you build a proper company culture that attracts high performance and A players? Now, making money doesn't mean you're a great leader. I know a bunch of people that make a lot of money and fucking assholes. You don't want to work with them, you don't want to work for them, you don't want to be their partners in anything, right? And it also doesn't teach you how to run teams or build teams of A players that like to work for you. Aaron said it pretty well. If you're yourself, you're going to attract people that are naturally drawn to you in that regard. But there are also a few other things I'm going to go into that make a difference in terms of who you attract, how you attract them, and the likes. Some of those are company values, obviously, the way you portray yourself to the outside. And then you want to build a company that promotes innovation in a way that the team is doing the work and the heavy lifting for you as well. So you're not going to have to go to the team and be like, guys, I want to do this. I want to do this. We need to find a way to, find new revenue streams, make it more profitable, or find a way that less customers are unhappy and send back the products and all that stuff. Now, if you have B players, you're going to have to tell them what to do all the time, every single time. Like, do this, do this, do this. Now you're going to have to build that SOP and all the stuff. If you have A players, none of that has to happen because the A players do it for you. You put them in your business and they're going to look at the business with their experience and everything they have done in the past. And they're going to be like, you know what, that's fucked up. Why are we doing it like that? We're wasting X amount of hours, we're wasting X amount of capital on getting the same stuff done that I know a better way on how to do it. And we're going to save this, have more time for this, which means we can either increase the price because we're giving more value in a shorter period of time. We're going to have less churns, we're going to have less returns, and all that stuff, right? So that's the biggest thing that you can figure out if somebody is an A player or a B player. And there are a few other differences, obviously, that you can go through, or like kind of a checklist to see, right? They know where to look and who to ask to become better. And ideally, that's not you, because you're hiring somebody in your business that does your job or does what you do better. There's no need in hiring somebody that you have to teach everything from scratch. You're wasting your time, right? You want to hire somebody that has done that, ideally has been on a bigger and higher level and knows how you get from where you are to where they were or the business they were in before. How you do that? Headhunting, obviously, is the easiest way to do it. Depending on your situation, there might be other ways, and I can touch upon that a little bit later. They will also work over hours, which a B player will never do. B player will be like, I think it's time. I'll go. I'm being paid for 8 hours. I'm going to stay for 8 hours, and I'm home, right? You don't want that. You want somebody to be invested in your business, be aligned with your mission, make sure, when you say want to make 10 million in revenue this year, you want your entire fucking team to want that as well. Well, obviously incentives and stuff play a big role, but just to understand the mentality as well, right? Because yes, you can incentivize somebody a little bit, for them to have more motivation. But if that's the only way they're motivated, you probably don't want to have them in your business, because they want to have that, they should have that grit and that motivation and that drive from themselves as well, because they want to get better, learn something, and go ahead. They attract other A players. And on the contrary, if you have a B player in the team and there is an A player joining, that A player is going to leave. Or you have an A player in the team and a B player is joining, you're going to have that A player leave because they don't want to work with losers. Super easy. They want to work with the best people they can get, because then they know their full value comes to the light. You have less headaches, and you have very little training that you're required to do. Maybe you know that with freelancers or interns or like part-timers, you're bringing it in, you're like, this is how we do it, this is the SOPs, this is how you do your job, this is what you have to look out for. That doesn't happen with an A player. Yes, you have to bring them into your own personal processes, all the values and stuff, but they already know how to do the job, so you don't need to train them on the job, right? You only train them on your ways and how you essentially move forward. And then you ask them, what would you do different? Super, super important thing. Whoever you bring in, ask them, what would you do different in our business? Because that way you can see, are they thinking ahead, or are they just saying, well, yeah, I don't know, I would run more ads. Yeah, cool. Well, I didn't know that. I know how to scale that, right? By the way, if I swear too much, just tell me. Cool. They have a strong sense of their skill, obviously, and how to use it. Creates an atmosphere of hustle motivation, and they cost you 3 times more on average, which sucks. But that 3 times more is going to be 5x down the line in revenue and profits and all that stuff. Because for that one person, you could hire 3 or 4 B players, C players, and all the rest we don't even want to talk about. And you're going to have more payroll, you're going to have more admin, instead of just one fucking A player that does it all, and they know what they're doing. So, yeah, go ahead.
Can you turn a B player to an A player?
Yes. Sometimes. Yes, you can, but they have to have the correct mindset, because A player, sometimes if somebody comes in, they don't have the skill already, but they have the proper mindset. And that's honestly half of our team. We took them in, and they're like former special police, they're former like intelligence agency and all that stuff. You know, those guys know their actions have consequences, and they want to make sure they do the right thing. Those mindsets you can turn around. Everything else, pretty hard, because then mindset is the predominant factor to make things. Yeah, the foundation essentially. Yeah, 100%. And you can have very good B players. But yeah, no, so yeah, that's basically it. That you can have very good B players, but then you have to put the resources in and go into a bit more one-on-one coachings with them for, like, say you onboard them. For what I like to do with our C-level team, I jump into a call every single week for half an hour and go through a few things, right? I do that for 4 weeks, then I stop and see how they develop themselves. They do it for 4 weeks and see how, stop and see how that develops. And if they don't, then obviously I gotta have a talk with them, because then they're not cutting the chase, right? Hope that makes sense. Cool. Yeah, again, B or lower, let's just go in for the sake of roasting those guys. They need constant training. They ask questions that they can answer themselves if they thought about it for like 3 minutes, right? They're relatively new to the job and the skill. Again, there are exceptions to the rule, but majority of them don't take them. They value fruits and the table tennis in the office more than the actual work performance. You have that a lot with having an office in place. Sucks. They sit at the coffee machine, they're just talking, they're not working, right? You want none of that. That's why we love remote as well. There's no coffee machine, there's no fruits, there's no table tennis, there's work. And after work, they don't even have to commute, so it's good for their mental space as well. They don't want to be measured based on their performance, and that's the biggest indicator. If you ever hire somebody and you're like, you know what, if you're doing a good job, we're going to give you a bonus, but we're going to measure your performance. And when they're going to be like, but I'm doing my job right, and I've been doing this for 5 years. Yeah, don't even want to talk to you. Don't even want to talk to you. Because if you're not ready to show me what you're worth, I'm not even want to talk to you. There's no reason for it. It's going to be a waste of time for all of us. They ask for more, willing to give less. I'll give a prominent example. In Germany, obviously, pretty sure in Denmark it's similar because we're not that far apart from politics. Now, you have all kinds of health insurance, you have all kinds of benefits. There's even things like the employer can pay into the stock market account from the employee. That's going to be for free and all these kind of things, right? So just nice, gloomy, shiny benefits. And if somebody hasn't even started with you and asked for a laptop, asked for all those benefits, asked for 35 days of vacation, everything that's above the norm that you would usually do, no go, 100%. If somebody asks for those things before the trial period ends, no go, not going to do it. And trial periods, by the way, should always be 6 months. Never do anything less than 6 months. We've had it multiple times. Within 3 months, somebody can play a role. Everybody can play a character in 3 months. Every single person. But after that, it's harder and harder to maintain that character that you're putting up, right? Best example for that is, even though it has nothing to do with employees, look at trading scammers. Their demo account might run for 3 months, right? Or their actual real account might run for 3 months, but after 6 months, you're going to actually see the effect. And then after you will do for sure. But after a year, when it comes to employees, it's quite too late. And it's also legally a bit of a challenge in Germany, pretty much up there in the north as well, to have somebody on trial period for 12 months, because that's, yeah. And you pay people less in trial periods, by the way, right? You pay them 75% of their salary, never pay them 100%. They can unlock the 100% once they've proven themselves for 6 months and they hit their KPIs. If not, they have to go, regardless, right? Needless to say that within those 6 months, you want to train them as much as you can, right? If they're coming in. No matter if that's an A player or ideally you only have A players, but even A players need a bit of training on how do you do things, not the job, but how do you as a person react to problems, challenges, right? Ask them proactively that they bring in their own ideas and thoughts, and then kind of find a way to interact with them, because employees you have to sell them the vision every single time, again and again and again, for them to stay on board, right? It's way easier with A players because you tell them once and they know what it is, and you tell them again in 3 months and they know what it is, but there will always be a certain amount of time you have to put into employees. It just varies on who it is, how much you have to put in there. Cool. They're easily distracted and complaining. So those are guys that during their work time, they're scrolling on Instagram. They're sending you reels. They're walking to the coffee machine and they're like, oh, let's take a coffee. And they do that like 15 times a day. Or they have a weak bladder and they go take a piss for 6 times a day, right? It's all these things that are... It's a lot of this distraction nowadays also with social media, because you have easy distractions, right? You open up Instagram, the first thing you see is like fucking butt-naked women, some cars, some jewelry, and all that type of stuff. And that can have a severe impact on anybody's mind if you look at it too long. And it also has an impact on what they see themselves worth at, or what they think they deserve, right? Because if they see cars and all that stuff over and over and over again, and then there's some reels. I only work 20 hours a week at my employer and I get $16,000. You know, it's like they see that and they take that as a map for how their life should be. And those are all kinds of things to consider, especially something I'm going to come to a bit later with time tracking and taking screenshots of their work, which is not a fun thing to do for most employees, but A players don't give a shit, because they're going to work and they're not going to be on some porn sites or something. Cool. Okay. Cool. Yeah, again, it takes up most of the resources of higher-ups, inefficiencies in the entire process, because you have to remanage them, retell them how to do, and explain them over and over again. This is how you move a ticket and click up from left to right, right? And if you have to explain basic stuff like this more than once, problem. More than 3 times, let them go. You don't need them. And obviously, when you think of B players and low performers, there's a bunch more you can think of, which I will not name. But cool. Besides, obviously, hiring A players, you have to do a lot to attract them, because A players won't come by themselves. As Arian said, nice personal brand is always good. But then also the values you project as a company, because the more your values are projected outwards, the more people can say, I identify with that, I identify with that, I don't identify with that. But if somebody doesn't identify with a certain value and they map, let's say we have 8 values, core values, that have to be mapped on an employee. If somebody doesn't agree with a single one, we'll go into discussion. If everything else works, and we're like, okay, why do you think that is an issue? And then you can figure out based on the answer if they're one or the other. So for us, we're running a business like a military team of special forces, right? You'll see that in the org chart. Small teams, but the focus is on the mission. If a client has a bad result, fix it. Right? If there's an hour you have to work longer because then the client has his issues fixed, do it. We're not going to ask for it. We kind of expect it, and we're going to reward you for that as well. Because the better results, the less churns we have, the better your performance is, the better your KPIs, the better your bonus. Pretty easy, right? It's quick math. Again, right, nothing matters more than mission done successfully, no matter the cost. And once it's done, right up to the next mission. And there we go. Now, defining values you stand by in building a team that relies on itself. The values you have to define for yourself, who you are as a person. Arian said that very well. I want to attract people that like me, that are maybe like me, or don't have an issue with my personality. Best thing you can do, write down 10 values you want your business to run by. It's not only good for hiring people or like building an organization or anything like that. It's extremely good for yourself as well as a reminder if there's a decision. Shit happens in business. People try to screw you over all the time. You have a list of values, you're like, cool, I know what I'm going to do, right? So this is way beyond just people, personality, and whatever. Your values are basically a roadmap for how you make decisions, what decisions you make, and why you make them, right? And then if you have that listed down, one, you can tell that to employees. When you want to hand over responsibility to employees, same shit. It's like, those are our values. Is your decision or is that problem solvable within the values that we have? Yes or no? What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Give me 3 different options you're going to solve this issue, because you don't want to be the problem solver if you don't have to, if you have people in the business that are supposed to take care of this, right? And your goal is to have people in the business that take care of that stuff, so you can spend your time 2 hours working, checking in on everybody, giving a bit of leadership calls, and off to the beach and flyboarding, you know? So yeah, and then you have leverage your time, obviously, to create more businesses, more money, and all that stuff, because we're in the business of money and not in the business of getting busy. So yeah. You need a team that supports one another like they're a family. Super, super important. That is one value. If you instill that in them, they're not going to leave, even though if you pay them a little less than the competition. We had it multiple times that competitors came up to our employees. They're like, we'll pay you 3 times more. And they're like, we won't go, because we love it here. This is a family. We support one another. And it doesn't matter what you pay me. This doesn't hold up to what I'm having here. Yes, certain roles need a lot of money. Sales, ads people, like media buyers and all that stuff. They're incentivized by that, 100%. Everybody's incentivized by money. I'm just saying you don't have to overpay everybody if you have a great culture and you know they love each other and become friends. Our team of 40 people, they're friends. Like, we're going on team events. They're like, oh, good to see you again. And they're like chatting in their off time, remote, just going on Zoom calls, talking about their private life. And that is perfect. And that's what I want, because that means I've built an actual proper business that supports, takes care, and does all the things that I would do as one single person, and I have to like go over all that stuff. That only works with good monitoring and controlling, obviously, and you have to be the light post at the end of the seashore. I think they call it light post. Because they have to look up to you and be like, that's a cool person, I want to work for them. And that person exactly has the values I have, and I can identify with that, right? The identification is probably the most important thing that you have for an employee with you. Can they identify with you as a person? And then obviously the team as such. And once you got that, you're pretty good. Yeah, so any challenge tackle will be solved as a team effort, and you don't need to jump in every single time. Matter of fact, with us, the way I've built it now is if there is a challenge, something that's really crucial to solve immediately, again, what I said, what do you think of that? What are your 3 proposed solutions? Do those solutions align with our values? And what are your next steps? Let them solve it for you. That's why you fucking hired them. That's their job. But it's also what you need to have mental peace, because if you have to take every single decision, no matter how small it is, you're going to have decision fatigue immediately. You're going to wake up in the morning like, I got to take care of this. Cool. You make 10 decisions and the next 10 will be immediately worse. You're not going to be on your A game on the next 10 decisions because you already have solved 10 incredible problems that needed to be solved immediately. Good point maybe also, if some employee or somebody in the team texts you, it's not always, you don't always need to immediately answer. Some issues, just give them a bit of time, 4 or 5 minutes, or maybe an hour or 2 hours, they will solve it themselves, right? Because we as humans, we love convenience. That's why Amazon is extremely successful, why Talabat is doing great and has a lot of people employed. Convenience is amazing. I order food, it's here. The same thing is with decisions or anything where responsibility is even slightly to be taken. Yeah? Because I don't want to have the responsibility if my decision fucks up the entire thing. I don't want to have that. But if you can train them and teach them in a way that they're comfortable making those decisions with those questions exactly that I said, it's going to be better and better. And yes, you're going to look over their decisions. You're going to be like, hey, you know what? That is cool. No, solution number 3 is nice, but I would add X, Y, Z. And now they learned to solve that problem, but they also learned that to that problem solution, there are a few more other steps they can take, which they don't know because of experience, but you know because it's your business and your experience and all that stuff. That doesn't only work for like 40 employees, by the way. That works if you have 1. If you want to work with freelancers, it works all the way because that's human psychology, right? Even with freelancers, if you don't want them to bother you entire time, just ask them those questions and be like, how would you solve it? And let them do the work, right? Again, you're paying them for that. Cool. Let me move on to the next point before I dabble too much here. Again, 8 core values, I talked about it. So let me just quickly go through them so you can see them, you can model them, you can do whatever, but make sure they align with yourself and your identity. Determination, focus on the goal. Effective communication, transparency, and constructive feedback is key. There's nothing worse than people talking behind each other's back. Backstabbing culture in your company is wrong, shouldn't happen at all, avoid at all costs. I do the same thing. The way I'm swearing to you guys, I'm doing the same thing with the team. They know me and they love me for that because I'm like, you know what? I fucked up today. I did this. And I actually tell them proactively, here's what I did. This was wrong. And at the beginning of the year, I sent our C-level a letter where I'm like, here, this is what I fucked up with last year. And this is how I'm going to solve it. And this is what I expect from you guys. And blah, blah, blah. Perfect. Works always. Respectful interaction within and towards the team at all times. Obviously, respect is important. Solution focus kind of goes with the focus on the goal, but also whenever there is an issue, you want everybody to be solution focused. You don't want to dabble on the problem for like 8 hours. You want to make sure that the solution that is there is a good solution and everybody is looking towards the solution, not like, oh, my job is so f***ed up, now I have this problem, and what am I going to do next? Again, if you hire A players, it's not going to happen, but if you have B players, you want to bring them to A players, this is super important, solution focus. Winning mindset attitude is everything, we can do everything, we just have to figure out how. Team spirit, we're there for one another, we support one another. Clear role assignments, super important thing. If I put you in a position, that's your job, take care of your job, that's your responsibility for every single position. And that's where KPIs come in. And then discipline, obviously, we're not going to be crybabies, we're going to punch our way through. Right, so that's the baseline. And then the baseline to support every team member, which is your responsibility as the head, as the founder, as the owner and everything, is basically go up to them regularly, ideally on a 3 months or maybe on a monthly basis. If you have a small team and a few people, that's super easy to do on a monthly basis. Just ask them, what do you need to be better? How can we provide that to you? And how can we become better as a team collectively, right? If you see communication is off a little bit, just talk to them. Like, here's what I see. This is what's happening. How can we do it better, right? Again, it's open, proactive communication. It's a bunch of common sense, but nobody does it. It's always like you do this, but nobody talks openly and receives feedback and listens to it. Next step to listening to feedback, you want to implement that as well. Okay, cool. I talked a bunch of stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
So in relation to the 3 questions you always ask in terms of getting your employees to think for themselves, how would you resolve it in 3 different ways? And
Yep.
So when hiring a new person to your company, I think it would be a bit harsh to just always line over that line of questions. Is there some scenarios where you wouldn't do it, or just give them the help they need?
Oh, no, 100%.
How do you choose between those?
Yeah, they always get the help they need. Okay, so I don't leave them in the dust and be like, you didn't solve it. I always ask them, and because I want to see how their brain works. All I do is I want to understand how that person's mind and character works in difficult situations, different situations. If they don't have an answer, it's like, hey, cool, no worries. Here's what I would do, and this is how I approach it, right? Also, the solution-focused approach. Never go out of a situation without providing a solution, because you're not creating value. Your goal should be to always create value, one, emotionally for the employee, that they go out and they're like, this is such a cool guy, I love working with him, I'm always learning something. And the other thing is actual solution for the business, which matters because the business is what we're working on, right? But the secondary effect should always be that emotional support, which is you always give them the solution if they don't have it. And you touched upon hiring as well. In hiring, the way we do it, we have a 3-step approach. I can see if I can find it and share it with all of you after. I don't have it in here. But it's a full SOP on what to talk through first, in the first hiring call, second hiring call, and then the third one. And then, but we give everybody a test task. And that test task is designed to be extremely challenging. Because if someone we want to hire doesn't know maybe a terminology, right? We don't want them. Because we want you to know the stuff we're talking about. If it's like basic stuff, like conversion rate, what is CR, what is AOV? It's like, are you serious? Like, you want to work at a CRO agency. That doesn't work if you don't know that. But if it's like more advanced things, like discounted cash flow and stuff, and you can explain it to them because it's not extremely important for their role. Anything important for their role, they should know. If they don't know that, red flag, right? And then you can teach them and tell them if you see they have a good mindset and they have a good character. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, so I have following.
Yeah, go ahead.
Following on question to that. So if you have a remote, your employee is working remote.
Yep.
I think it would be a bit hard, like for example, on an online meeting, if they ask you a question, to just be like, take 5 minutes, think about 3 solutions, and come back. How do you do it if it's virtual?
Yeah, the thing is, the frame you're asking that question with is extremely important. You can't just go and you solve it yourself. We'll see each other in 5 minutes. It doesn't work. You have to go and like, you know what, want to find a solution? Take all the stuff you know about the company and the business and your skill and your position and think about, brainstorm for 1 to 2 minutes, right? But here's the thing, it shouldn't even come to that situation. Everybody that joins a meeting should have a solution prepared beforehand. You don't want to get into a meeting and now solve the problem. You want to get into a meeting and go through the solutions proposed by every person so you can pick a solution and execute on it, right? Make sense?
Yeah.
So that hopefully doesn't happen. It still happens. It's like 30% of the time that still happens because if you have a solution, now that solution opens up a new problem. You're like, okay, cool. What do we do about that? And then you take 10, 15 minutes. I'll share you the exact meeting template we use where you can go through those things and brainstorm in the minute and then find those solutions to it as well. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Cool. Nice. Very good. Anybody else? Cool. Cool. When to hire and how to hire first. Pretty cool. First 3 hires are the most important ones because with those first 3 hires you can unlock 10x the growth that you have or like the revenue that you have, right? So it's super important. The first 3 hires, this one is just about the hires that are closest to you. But it's the people that work immediately and closely with you, like anything management-wise or ad spend, like media buying. You need to have direct reporting from that person at all times. In the agency, it's somebody that is the customer success manager, account manager, whatever you do, right? Okay, so that as a preface to that. The first hire should always be somebody that takes away 80% of your operational tasks and fulfillment. So you want some sort of an all-rounder that takes away majority of the stuff that does grab most of your attention and your focus, because you need that focus somewhere else. You're the business owner. You're not the business operator. You need that focus somewhere else so you can grow. And your best leverage is put the right people in the right position. So they take care of the stuff that you took care of, and now we have 3 hours a day unlocked for new growth, new strategies, new this and that, right? So that's number one. So somebody, for example, in an agency, it's obviously client fulfillment, 100%. And e-com could be something like somebody who takes care of the logistics, the warehouse stuff, dev work for the online shop and all that stuff, right? Whatever it is. I mean, like, obviously logistics in terms of 3PL, if you're using a 3PL and all that stuff. Pretty self-explanatory. Again, they will be your right hand because they will have to do everything you do operationally themselves. So you need somebody with experience that knows how to do it and make sure it runs smooth, right? In the first 2-3 months of that, you will delegate majority of the tasks because you have to do a handover. But somebody with experience will know how to take it over and then run it from there. Cool. Second person, and that is something fewest people do, executive assistant. Sending out contracts, sending out any communication with clients, right? Booking trips, like all this stuff. Making the events that we did, your guys' event, assistant takes care of all that shit. And the only thing you have to do is like this event, create a good briefing, off you go, and it's done. And that's the biggest time saver. Doing stuff like admin, bookkeeping things. I mean, you guys are as we in Germany with bookkeeping and like, oh, there's a receipt, I have to put this there, right? Every single time. You guys are out of this, so congratulations. But that's what happens the entire time. You don't want to do that. If you do that, you're wasting your time. You might be working 8 hours in the business or on the business, and then you have to do that stuff for another 4 hours. That's going to drain your energy. That's like the quickest way to burn out because it's not cool stuff. You don't want to do it. And there are great people that can do that for you. With executive assistants, personal opinion, don't go with somebody abroad. That should be a person right next to you. That could be your girlfriend, which I don't advocate for because I think it's always good to split those things. If it works, there are a bunch of cool people we know that works perfectly with. But keep them close to you as possible, right? As close as possible. If you do have a small office you operate out of, let them come to the office every day, or at least have them come to the office 2 or 3 times a week, or a month if they're far away, because ours lives in Berlin, we're in Hamburg, so she comes to the office twice a month. But she's very good, and she can take care of stuff remotely because the way we set up the entire business. Make sense so far? Yeah. Cool.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Both. She does more for Cara because I don't need too much stuff because I'm obviously not traveling as much. But she takes care of all the admin stuff in the business. Like she's talking to her accountant, she's talking to our lawyer. We're just like, okay, we need this contract renewed, and she has it 2 days later. She does all that stuff that we don't want to do. We literally don't want to do it because it's mundane, annoying work, but it's the most important stuff that still has to get taken care of. Yeah. Make sense? Cool. Again, it buys back a lot of hours of your time, though otherwise waste on repetitive tasks. And that time you can spend on adding more money to the top line, bottom line, whatever it is that you fancy. Probably more top line and bottom line comes later. And then the third person is very, very much dependent on where you're at and what your goals are with the business, right? It's probably going to be somewhat of a operations person as well, because the more you can scale, the more it's going to be operations that's needed, because the revenue again has to be You know what I mean? And so that's based on the capacity and fulfillment. If you have a growth consulting, for example, where you just have a video course and you consult on like do weekly calls, that's going to be like customer success managers. Pretty easy, right? If you do have you do creatives and all that stuff, you're probably going to have to do more fulfillment. If you're an e-com, do you have a lot of customer requests, then probably might be this. Somebody takes care of the entire thing, manages a team of like 10 Filipinos that take care of the customer reps, whatever it is. But it makes sense, right? You need to hire accordingly. Or if you say, I don't have an issue with capacity, fulfillment, you could even look into sales. Do I get a new salesperson so I make the sales part of my business independent of myself as well? Because again, I'm the personal brand, I'm the one that brings all the money in, but that makes my business worth less immediately because when I'm gone, there's no revenue flowing in. So what if I bring somebody in that brings the revenue in for me? So my business has a baseline of operating without me and being worth a ton of money. Because now, if you do intend to exit the business, you sell an entire pack of a full team that takes care of everything and has proven processes and systems and SOPs and all that. Okay, make sense? Yeah. Cool. Pretty common sense again, but it's good to point out because sometimes you forget that. So three things you want to leverage, or 3 main points you want to achieve with hiring the first 3 people, and with those 3 people you can do a ton of cash. Buy yourself time, buy yourself peace of mind, and leverage your cash flow to multiply with solid talent, or leverage that cash flow for investments and whatever you fancy, you know? Cool. Any questions on that so far? Cool. Now, leveraging globalization and remote work for cost effectiveness. If you hired everybody in Denmark, your bank accounts will be pretty dry. Okay, same in Germany, because the standard of living goes up, or at least inflation drives costs up. And due to social media, everybody thinks that when they just graduated from fucking high school, they deserve like 70K a year. I see that a bit different. And you can get, and then also you have a work culture, at least in Germany, that becomes increasingly woke, if that's the correct word for because I don't want to swear too much. But yeah, so that's that. You don't need everybody in your country, especially when it comes to back office, when it comes to tasks that are not client-focused. Everything client-focused, if, say, in Danish, right, it's hard to put like a Bosnian guy in there that he doesn't speak Danish, right? So everything client-focused and directed to you should be ideally in your language, in your country, makes everything easier. Everything else, don't need it. There are amazing, amazing countries you can go for talent. Portugal, Spain are some, because also a lot of Northern Europe guys and girls go down there and work from there, right? Because it's just sunny and beautiful, and why not? So yeah, you can get people there, but then you also get a bunch of people from like Bosnia, Serbia, Ukraine, South America, if time zone permits it, right? It's great as well, because they are skilled and qualified. And that's the most important thing. You can find great VAs from like Philippines, Thailand, and all that stuff. They're pretty cheap, but if you actually want somebody to add proper value to your business and reduce the risk and the compliance stuff, take somebody from Europe, right? You'll pay more for that, but you have somebody that also thinks more clearly, I would say, and doesn't just do random mundane tasks. Obviously, customer reps, like customer reps, you can use like anybody, right? Because they only have to go through a certain script. But every position that has to think a little bit for themselves, which ideally you want, that they can do that. Those are great countries to hire from. So yeah, anyone client-facing or directly reporting to you, go to your own country. And then also, the benefit from those countries, obviously, in their country, they have a different living standard and different average salary. So you, instead of spending 4.5K on somebody in Germany, you spend half of that maybe and go to Bosnia, and they have a better work mindset because they're grinding until that shit is done. And that is amazing. And that's what you want to leverage as well. And it's a win-win because you still pay them above their average salary that they get. And so they're happy. They're living like kings in their countries. And you're happy because you're paying less, but you get more value. It's amazing. Cool. Now, The tools you need to make sure you're not financially screwed over with taxes and or compliance, right? If you hire somebody remotely, which I advocate for, you will need a platform like Deal or Remote where you can hire them. They'll be part of your business, and it's going to work the same way as if you employ somebody in Denmark. So they have social security, they have health insurance, they have all that stuff in their country, and they're with you. Because if you have somebody work 40 hours a week for you, but they don't live in your country and they're not employed on your business, at least in Germany, the fiscal, what do you call that? Finanzamt, so the Chamber of Commerce type of stuff, whatever, they take care of taxes. They come to and they're like, this guy is practically an employee for you, so you have to pay taxes and all that stuff in Germany. And that sucks because they don't do it immediately. They do it after a year, 2 years, 3 years, or once they probe you for, are you filing your reports right? Avoid that, go to Deal, Remote, whatever. Great, we're using Remote at this point. Deal has a deposit. I wouldn't use it. We've been there. We're switching to Remote. It costs you $500 a person. Still works out cheaper than if you hire them locally. And it's great because they take care of the legal stuff. They tell you, they advise you on how you have to employ them. You can even go contractor in some countries because they don't have those strict laws. And that's like $99 a month, right? And then you're legally secure. And that's super, super important risk-wise and long-term-wise because you don't want to get screwed over. Are we in the time or something? Yeah, okay, cool. You guys got to tell me, right? Because if I talk, I don't stop. Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll probably be done pretty soon. Cool. Time tracking, super, super important. Remote is amazing, but always don't, like, here's the thing. In Germany, we say trust is good, control is better, right? You probably have a similar saying from the way you all smile. Same thing with remote people. I would even do it with people in my office. The reason is that way it's the fastest way to get to 2-3 things. One, are they an A player? Or are they spending a shit ton of time on YouTube, for example? We had one person playing Counter-Strike Go during work hours. And we're like, it's my brother. Yeah, of course, because you worked 5 hours and then 3 hours was Counter-Strike. Okay, cool. Don't want that. But you can identify that. You would never know that otherwise, right? Because even if their stuff is, even if they track all their KPIs and they get all their stuff done, with those 3 hours, they could do way more. And you could pay them way more based on performances and all that stuff. So yeah, Time Docker is great. You can activate a screenshot feature, which is like every 15 minutes, 30 minutes, it takes a screenshot of the screen. Put that in a contract, make sure you talk it through with a lawyer, so have it bulletproof. Anything I talk, always talk it through with a lawyer to make sure it's 100% clear. But yeah, that works very well. And the other benefit from that is you can see which process takes the most time. That's super important, especially for agency, because if you have something that takes a ton of time, you can automate that. Just automate it, right? So we have, for example, tracking setup in Ecom Source, Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, Hotjar. You set all that stuff up. It used to take us 8 hours. Now we automate it takes us 2 hours. We identified that because we tracked the time. We're like, they're spending 8 hours on that. We can do now 4 times as many setups basically on that end within the same time. And that's where processes and systems and optimizations come in, right? But again, I could do a whole talk on that. It's not the case of this. When it comes to hiring payments, use Wise. That works pretty well with us. I wouldn't use Wise from your credit card, even though you would get points, but the fees are too high, so we're just sending a bunch of money over every month. So it's sitting in there, and then we pay it from there, right? So you avoid the fees. It's like $18 then if you transfer like 4K or something. So that's pretty chill. Now, super important, be rigorous in who you let in and hire, and fire faster than you hire. You hear a lot of people say, hire fast, fire fast. Nah, man, not at all. Hire very meticulously and methodically, and fire as fast as you can if you see they don't tick the boxes as soon as they have red flags, right? And then also always fire based on KPIs, performance, and culture fit. You will have it sometimes that they have great KPIs, great performance, but they're not fitting the culture. They're just not cool people to work with. They come to the morning meeting and they might be good, and they're like, you know what, I hate Monday mornings, and they drag down the entire team and that stuff. You don't want those people because it's going to affect the performance of everybody else in the team. So you better get rid of them. And those are the 3 things to look for, to hire and to fire. And when I say to hire, during that trial period in the 6 months, right? In that 6 months, do they hit their KPIs? Do they hit what you're telling them they should hit? And then culture-wise, are they attending Monday meetings? We have a Monday meeting. The entire team is in there. We're just roasting each other, like literally. You can see from the way I talk, that's how we talk in that Monday meeting. We roast the out of each other. And they do like Kahoots and quizzes, and that's great for team culture as well, which I would do the bigger the team gets. With smaller teams, you just all get together, go for dinners here and there, and make it a more friendly and jokey experience, I would say, for the entire team. But yeah, then again, based on that, fire fast and hire slow and methodically. Now, again, because how do you know that person is good or not? KPIs. And for those KPIs to work, you want to make sure you have good structured teams. I'm going to show you our org chart. The way you structure the team will have a direct correlation and impact on the performance. The bigger the team, the worse the performance. The more people have to brainstorm on the single issue or solution, the worse it gets. Best example, German politics. Nothing gets done, like quite literally. And it takes ages. And it's quite the same in a lot of European countries because the bureaucracy is way too much. 10 people have to sign off the same that other 10 people signed off like last week, right? And it takes ages and ages. Avoid that. Lean is the way to go, but lean also means small and lean teams. So I would advocate for no team being bigger than 5. You can go up to 7 if you only have one single team, then it works. But you have to have clear responsibilities on who's in charge in that team and who's leading that team. Okay? Again, small unit teams doesn't come from me. I am not inventing something beautiful here. It comes from special operations. They send out 4 to 7 man teams out there with Overwatch, with support teams, get the mission done, come back home. There we go, right? We take that same approach, run it through the company. So, in the beginning, most of you said you don't want to grow too much, right, in terms of teams. I think the biggest was like 10, 12 people. That is perfect because with 10, 12 people, you can probably clear like 4 or 5 mil easy. Yeah? And then also, if you have a team of 5 to 6 people, you can do 150K a month, easy money. If you have good SOPs, good structures, and you have the right people. Again, an A player will take care of 4 people. Right, and then also the other thing is, if you have something like CRO or a creative studio where you have to film stuff, you will have to have more people simply because one person can't be the cameraman and like not all that type of shit. Or in CRO, you need like a data specialist, you do need an optimizer, now a developer, designer, and all that stuff. Yes, the optimizer could design, but then it's not according to standards to the clients that we're working with, which are like huge clients, so you need a certain amount of quality there as well. But still, you can make a ton of money with a few people. Now, here's our agency. You see Carl and myself up there. This is our assistant for the data stuff in Germany. I blurred out everybody's name. And so you can see how we built up that team, right? Now, we do have our 6 teams. Those teams have a team lead, and all of those teams have 2 people within that team. They're client-facing. Team lead, so let me just stand up here. This one's client-facing, and the rest isn't. So only those 6 teams are client-facing. This one is a support team. Down here, the development teams are support teams. There's a QA team here. That's a support team. And then obviously sales team. And then we have our C-level here, which takes care of running the business pretty much at this point. And as you can see, now the most we have here is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in that team. And then per 4 people, ideally, you have a team lead for it. Doesn't have to be, but under the premise that you want your business to run without you, that is important because then they're the decision makers, they report to the C-level, and that's it. Don't build any more levels than that. That's all you need. Maybe this could be too much. If you're a small team, obviously, then you don't need that. You need one person to take care of your entire team of 4 or 5 people, and you're good to go. and then that person reports to you with all the KPIs, performances, and takes care that the team hits the KPIs and performances. Yeah, makes sense? Yeah.
So what's the C team that they report
Yeah.
to?
Yeah. So that is, we do have HR, we have operations, we have one that's more like operations but client. So one is operations processes systems, the other one is operations client side, and then we have CTO, so technical, because we have a ton of technical stuff to do with like development, coding, and all that stuff. So we need somebody to oversee that process. Yeah. And then probably one of the most valuable people is this person right here, which is the assistant. That was our first hire, by the way. No, our first hire was operations, then was assistant. Our then assistant now is a head of HR, so she's here. And that's a good example for a B player living up to an A player, because over the time she grew with us and did a great job. Yeah, cool. Any questions to that work chart and like the way setting up teams and stuff? Go ahead.
So we are running an e-commerce store, and we're planning to hire some what's called customer service, because it takes a lot of our time.
Yep.
To recommend is, and it's our first hire, so we recommend hiring customer service / assistant to start with, and then maybe later on hire some agency or something for the customer service, and then still have her
How much time would she spend on like customer service type stuff?
So it's actually almost all his time. So he's doing a lot of the customer service.
Then that will make sense for you to hire her first just for that, because it will free up your time to take care of any other stuff. And then once you're growing in revenue enough, you can see if you want to hire an assistant or a media buyer rather, right? That's basically how I would approach it, because if you bring an assistant in now, you're two of you, which is a huge benefit, right? So you can split a bunch of those admin tasks at the beginning between the two of you, or if you have now 80% more time, you can take that and take 20-30% of time and work on that. And until you figure out, okay, it's getting too much, right? And then you bring somebody in. For that, you could actually, and I'm contradicting myself a little bit here, but for that, you could then actually get somebody part-time if it's not enough to fill a full-time role for like the admin stuff, right? That would work, but under the premise that you grow more, that person comes in full-time.
Okay, so just to make sure, a full-time customer service and then part-time assistant?
Depends if you have enough work for her, for the assistant to do full-time. Say, for example, for example, you teach her how to do some of the media buying or whatever. The first hire should always be like an operational person that takes away 80%. Maybe if that customer service person has more time, but I doubt that, because if he's spending almost all his time on that and you bring somebody in for that position, she won't have much more time than you do, right? Especially if you employ her, she has less time than you do because you're willing to work more hours than she does. So yeah, that's kind of the way I would approach it. And then based on the admin work that you have, you can decide assistant or operation again. I would then go figure out if you can bring your assistant 50% assistant. If she doesn't have enough time, and then the other 50% unload any work that is for you, mundane and repetitive. Make sense? So anything where you're just spending time, example would be updating something in the shop, like freaking product descriptions and stuff, right? Doesn't make sense for you to do that. You have way better things to do with your time. So you might as well give her that job as well, which then you can clarify as assistant, you know? Yeah. Make sense? Cool. Any other? Go ahead.
You guys fully remote?
Yeah. So we have an office which has Carl in it. That's it. And we do have an office in Bosnia, but I don't. So we have that office, but it's for me still remote because I'm not in that office and Carl isn't in that office. So we're still always communicating through Zoom and stuff. Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges you face when you are completely remote?
Biggest one is everybody doing their work right? And are they spending the amount of time they should be spending? Which is why you should be using Time Doctor. Other things, obviously compliance stuff with legal can be a challenge. And then if you have some, because we do have some developers from India, for example, time zones can be challenging if they're not willing to adapt to your time zone. Other than that, if you do have proper meeting structure and SOPs, it's pretty easy, I would say. It's a lot of common sense. Like in general, business is a bunch of fucking common sense. But common sense ain't so common is what I love to say. Otherwise, the world would look different, yeah.
What about culture barriers from different countries?
Very good question. You can eliminate a bunch of that with your own values and culture. I'm always saying everybody is our brother and sister here. So I don't give a shit what you look like and who you are. We treat each other with respect. And that we're a family. When you treat them that way and hold them according to your values and standards, you're not going to run into that issue, right? Is there still something funny because you don't understand it? It's a different culture? Hell yeah, that's why we roast the fuck out of each other. But everybody understands that. And we also know that if we roast one another, it's all for jokes. And you're the person that has to implement that. So you have to be the person that's like, I'm not insecure about myself or anything that I have, right? So if somebody makes a joke about it, I'll roll with it and I just clap one right back. And it's okay to a certain degree that people do jokes about you if you like that to be your culture. If you don't want that, totally fine. I mean, I know people that are like, their employees have to shut up and don't even say a word against me. That's just not me. I like if they roast me and I roast back and we have a good friendly exchange. And it just makes everything much more worthwhile working together. And that's how you deal with culture barriers, quite a bit. Yeah.
Do you hire like an agency to headhunt talent?
We did. Arian said not to ask that question. Just kidding. We did. But now because Kaya is HR, she does all of that. So I would say from like 10, 12 people, you can look into an HR. Everything before that you can handle yourself. And one HR can practically take up to 300 employees if she knows what she's doing. So you won't need like a second HR.
So if you were like a really small agency, you just headhunt people yourself? Or?
No, if I were like small, if I didn't have an HR, I would maybe go with an agency. The only issue is never go with an agency that you cold approach, right? Always go through your network and look if somebody else has hired good talent through them. Because we burned through, I think, 3 different headhunters. The only thing they were hunting was our cash, so. Yeah.
I have a question also.
Was it answered for you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What about like salaries? What is a good salary for a player, like a media buyer? If you can say that, of course.
Well, we don't have media buyers, so I can't tell you specifically what the salary should be. I know from friends and their agencies, they're paying them 20 grand.
20 grand.
Yeah, depending on the amount of clients they're working on, how much budget they're managing. Media buyers are like salespeople, so they should be compensated accordingly, right? And for those people, I'd rather spend a bit more. A players, again, you will always, if you spend 1,500 as a base salary, for that A player, you would do 4,500 as a base salary plus the performance, right? Yeah, and that's also, I think somebody put that in the who's going to attend with like sales teams. I don't know who that was. All right, somebody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but it's the same thing with that in terms of media buyers and salespeople would compensate them similarly, right? So give them a good base salary, it's like somewhere 4 to 5K, and then the rest they can do in performance if they're good. But you'll figure that out, right? Does that answer your question? Yeah. And then also you can ask Arian for a bit more on like media buyer specific, because he's doing a lot more media buying stuff. We don't do that, so he'd probably be a good person to get a second opinion on.
Is there a reason why we haven't taken other services into the company? So I could imagine a lot of your clients are asking about media buying, Google, every other thing. Like, what are you doing to leverage on those channels at the moment? Like,
Great partners.
Right?
Great partners. If you do it all, chances are your quality is not going to be as peak as it could be if you do like maybe 1, 2 specific things. Does everything else work? Yeah, 100%. Me personally, the way I'm building teams and I'm building like a company, it's more, I want it streamlined, and then once that works, I can move to the next, right? And it's easier to build something for one service than for 3 services at once, because now you have the challenge. I like to go as specific as possible in the people that I hire, so I know they know what they're talking about, which obviously is a challenge. If you do omni-channel, you need somebody maybe that's fluent on all 3 as the first hire for operations. Can be challenging. It's 100% possible if you take somebody from like a huge growth consultant or agency or whatever, and just grab them, but then you can expect to pay them like 100 to 200K a year. So, but they'll run your business for you basically. So that pretty much works too. Yeah.
Makes sense, because we do the same way. We only do media buying, but if a client asks for more services, we have partners. So how do you structure the deals with the partners? Like, is it just a kickback on like 10, 20, 30%, or like how do you structure the deals?
It's honestly more on Carl's end. The last thing I know, we don't care about kickbacks. It's give and take. Okay. Just we send it and they have somebody for us. Or there's other things like good for the personal brand, or an event where then they say, you know, you sent me those, I'll come speak for free, or those kind of things, right?
Makes sense.
So it's more of that. Not saying referrals are bad. It's probably a smarter thing to do that, especially if you're smaller, to just take referral leads and like kickbacks and stuff. I think we just never operated. We did operate a little bit like that, but we never followed through with it because we felt the long-term benefit of associating with them and like providing value first was better. Yeah. Yeah. But again, that's to each their own. I mean, that's not a one-for-all solution, right? It depends on what you're looking for. And obviously, if I was smaller, I would take kickbacks all the way, 100%. Cool. Yeah, I'll continue here. No people has more than 5 people under them. No team lead has more than 5 people under them. The benefits are basically full accountability, responsibility for each team lead per department. So each person is measured on their KPIs, and so is the team lead on the KPIs of his team, right? So his responsibility is make sure your team does the work. Then everybody knows who to talk to about what. Clear responsibility and hierarchy is extremely important. Otherwise, everybody comes running to you. And now you're in a position again, decisions, answers, and all that type of stuff. Clear reporting hierarchy, I said. So team lead goes to C-level, and C-level goes to us if something's unclear. Yeah, said that. That's cool. Also, always remember, because we've been through quite a bunch of that, and it's always a challenge if you grow fast and crazy. The bigger the team, the more bureaucracy you have to deal with. Super simple. So the leaner, the better. And then huge brands and agencies usually have a third, if not half of their staff being management from lower to high. You want to keep it around 20%, ideally even 10%. That'd be perfect. I mean, obviously with 10 people, that'd be 1 person. Works, 100%. This is more important the bigger you grow, obviously, because you have more heads to oversee. Because, obviously, common sense again, ineffective waste of resources, time, and money. And so the smaller you are, the better your chances are on build SOPs from the beginning. Make sure everything is crystal clear for somebody that comes in. Make sure they understand your business. Make sure they understand what they're doing, how you're doing. Because just because you're doing, say, for example, media buying, whether it's e-com or agency, if you come from a different business into yours, maybe you're doing something different. They already know all that stuff and they're an A player, but you just have to show them quickly the SOP, they go through it, they adapt to it, and now you go, right? So break down SOPs for everything, like literally everything. We have SOPs for, we're always going through the same things. For example, you show performance, and at the end of the day, you can talk through questions. So basically, you set them up exactly like this Google Docs, right? And for, especially when you're talking through client issues or the like, you come prepared beforehand. Here's the issue. This is the proposed solution. This is what we can do. This is what we have identified, right? Don't take an emergency meeting in 2 hours. You have 0 time to be prepared. And so one of my mentors, it's probably the most fun advice he ever gave me, is preparation is key. Yeah. No matter what you do. Going in a meeting, everything in life. Preparation is key, so at least give yourself 8 hours beforehand, because in 8 hours you can figure out every single bits and piece that you need to make sure this call goes smooth. And if the client, and then over time the client will understand that, And in the first call with the client, I would actually tell them, this is how we're doing stuff. This is how we're doing the meeting, and this is supposed to have the best solution ready. Now you, before the meeting, please give me all that stuff as well from your end. Come with those things. Let's talk it through. We have a goal that we solve that issue together. Let's work on it together. Because most of client meetings can go towards, bumping heads, and that's unnecessary if you frame it correctly in the beginning. Make sense? Answer your question?
Okay. Kind of, but would it be relevant to just like cancel the meeting if there isn't like any problems to specifically like solve? Would you then still?
What's your meeting cadence?
Often it's just like go through performance, and if there's a problem, we usually don't identify before the meeting, but on the meeting, and that's probably also what's taking long.
Yep.
And then also a lot of fluff because people just like to talk,
Well, do 5 to 10 minutes of fluff in the beginning, and that's the best thing ever, because yes, bonding is extremely important, but 5 to 10 minutes is enough, and then you go into whatever you have to do. I would put up a meeting cadence like weekly, bi-weekly, whatever. Obviously, media buying is a bit different. I would probably do weekly, or if you do whatever your cadence is, make sure you keep that, but follow the same flow and system. And even if you don't have any issues to talk through, you're going to be like, hey guys, this is going to be a short one. I want to respect your time, blah, 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 where you at, whatever. And then you go through the performance, and then any questions at the end, yes, no, cool. All right, have a good one. We see each other. X, Y, Z.
Okay, that's great.
Cool.
Very insightful. Yeah,
cool.
This is probably the first time I've ever really heard Lars speak about building teams and organizations. So
cool.
A lot of knowledge for us here as well.
Nice.
So, yeah, really.
Nice, like to hear that. Any questions? Yeah.
So what about daily tasks for the employees? Because we have a lot of problems about, we know what they have to do, but we don't know how to structure everything and to keep track of if they get to do all the things that they need to, like in the day, or if they do it afterwards or something.
Yeah, there's different ways you can attack that. One is time doctor. Again, I just put it in there, even if you just have one guy. Like, especially for freelancers, it's extremely important. So track that. Then you will immediately know, are they doing the work and how long are they taking for it. And the other thing is, are you using project management tools?
If we use
Yeah.
No, actually not, that's the problem.
Use it.
We don't have a system.
Use it. Use it. That's the easiest way, because you can see how fast something goes from one stage to the other. Set up here's the issue, those things can get very complex very quickly. But you don't need it. If you don't want to grow to like 40 whatever people, take Asana. Just take Asana. It's easy. It's like Asana, yeah. Pretty cool. We worked with Asana in the beginning until we were like 15 people or like 20, and then we walked to ClickUp, and now we're trapped. We don't get out there because it's extremely difficult. But take Asana, because you can also use automations in there. So if somebody marks a task as done, it's going to automatically go into done, and like it's going to notify people and all that type of stuff. So that way you can control it better or understand better what's happening, how somebody working. And then on top of that, you can have every single person run a, here's what I'm going to do today. They do a daily recap in the evening, and they do a, how do you call that? Forecast? No. Their tasks. Yeah, like a check-in, yeah. Exactly, 100%. That, and then you can do that. If you don't want to use a project management tool, do that first, and then later you can move to a project management tool. But that's what I would do. Daily check-in in the morning, that's what you're going to work on today, and in the evening recap, this is what you've gotten done, and if it hasn't been done, you just push it to the next day. And that's accountability at the end of the day, again, right? The best way you can introduce that, because sometimes people are very hesitant to do new things, do it yourself and show them. And when you explain stuff, go with them. Why is that important? What are we doing? And how are we doing that? And then what else is it good for? Using that agenda and that frame is always going to make them use it. And then just sell it. That is sales. What Carl does is he does sales to bring clients in. I have to sell our team on every issue I want to solve. So you have to sell them. answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else? Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier you're not a very public person, so how do you think about your own personal brand in terms of not being maybe known to many people?
I don't want to be known. I just don't want to be out there. I mean, it's great because sometimes most of our clients don't even know me. They don't even know I'm in the business. When I would go to an event with Carl, probably everybody's going to be asking, like, who's that? And that's cool. And that's exactly what I want out of my life. So that's the something I chose. Yeah. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that because Carl's the exact opposite, and we're just a perfect match on that one. But yeah, I like my peace and my quiet.
Yeah. You went out 50-50 on the agency?
Yep.
Yeah. And you started it together?
Yep.
And
Yep. Yes, ever since day one, and it's probably going to ever stay like that. Everything we do 50-50. Just loyalty is important. And that's super, super important. Business can get ugly sometimes, and you're going to have issues with one another, and you're going to like to punch each other, and that's fine. Just get it out the way, and then always remember you have one goal you want to go to, you want to reach, and get it done. And loyalty is extremely important, also has value for anybody in your team and for yourself. Yeah. Cool.
A lot of progress, yeah, a lot of value.
Cool. Nice.
Really enjoyed it.
Nice.
So yeah, I think on behalf of everyone, thank you a lot.
Thank you guys. Cool. Appreciate it. Nice.